Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new around here, my name is Alicia and today I am going to review the Bake Off box. I managed to get my hands on the February box, and if you don't know what the Bake Off box is, it is by the Great British Bake Off. They have done a subscription service. I haven't signed up to the subscription service. This was a one-off box that I bought and it was £24.99. So in this video I'm going to go through every single step with you, tell you my thoughts on it, and hopefully we make a delicious cake. So this is the signature Great British Bake Off cake. So it's the chocolate cake covered in chocolate ganache and topped with raspberries. It's the one you see. I mean, I obviously can't do two things at the same time. I can't talk and get this off the box. Hang on a second. Why won't it come off? Oh, there we go. Ta-da! What was I saying? Yes, so you know when the Great British Bake Off comes on TV and you always see that signature chocolate cake, this is the one I'm going to be making. So let's have a look in the box. This is what it looks like. Oh, drop some on the floor. This is going well already and I'm like a minute into filming. So you get your signature chocolate cake postcard. You get a checklist of what you need. So it tells you what's in your box and then what else you need. I mean, let me just come closer. So this is what's in your box and this is what you need. Obviously, when they're sending ingredients out, they can't send things like eggs and things that can go off easily. So they only send you the dry ingredients, but it does mean that you need a lot more ingredients to go with it. You then get a little leaflet and it tells you where the ingredients are supplied from. You get a sachet that should have everything in, but it's obviously fallen out. And then here are our instructions. So it's the cake we're making. These are all the instructions. So let's get baking. I open this box. Got all of our dry ingredients here. So we've got the chocolate, which I assume is for the chocolate ganache. We've got caster sugar, cocoa powder and flour, and it actually tells you where it's made. So this says it's milled in Essex, selected in Yorkshire, produced in the United Kingdom, and selected in Yorkshire, and it's all in environmentally friendly packaging, which is definitely a big thumbs up from me. So that's your dry ingredients. Then with this box you also get a cake stand. I mean, that's kind of the reason I bought this box. Just for the cake stand, really. It's cute, isn't it? I think it's made out of bamboo, if I remember rightly. I think so, yeah, which again, environmentally friendly. And that is everything in the box. Just going to pop that to one side with the cake stand. It's quite a small stand, so you wouldn't get a big cake on here. But it should be enough, and it's slightly wonky. Oh well, we'll figure it out. So let's get baking. I'm actually really excited to make this. I can make a similar cake myself, but obviously this is a Great British Bake Off one. So the skill set is easy. It's hands-on 40 minutes, bake 30 minutes, and it serves 8 to 10. Or 2 in this household. Right, so where do we start? Number 1, heat the oven to 160 degrees fan. Degrees? What's degrees? It's because I read degrees and grease at the same time. Heat the oven to 160 degrees fan. Grease 2 20cm solid base sponge tins with a little oil and line the bases with baking paper. Okay, 160, and we need our 2 tins. Now 20 centimeters actually works out at like 7.5 inches, but I'm just using 8-inch cakes. Get my baking paper out. Usually I do all of this off camera, but I want to take you through every step. So I'm just going to draw around tins. I'm just using a pencil. I always cut inside of my line, so you don't need to worry about lead poisoning or anything. Then it says to grease it with oil. I normally grease mine with butter, but I'm going to follow it exactly. Some of the excess paper, spread it all around. Pop your sheets in. I like to do it opposite the curve so it stays nice and straight. Okay, tin's done. Next step. Sift the plain flour, baking powder, bicarbonate of soda, sugar, salt and cocoa powder into a mixing bowl, then set aside. Okay, let's get all of our dry ingredients back. Chocolate, caster sugar. So this has flour, baking powder and bicarb in, so we're putting all of that in. Get our sieve. Sugar. I'm sure I read somewhere about taking some sugar out. Where did I read that? Aha! There are 410 grams of sugar in the sachet. Take out 2 teaspoons and set them aside. Put the rest of the sugar in. Salt. How much salt did I need? Half a teaspoon, I'll just guess. That'll do. And cocoa powder. Oh my gosh. Everywhere. Oh, I've not sipped it. Oh well. Ooh. That smells like some good cocoa powder. And then set aside. In a separate mixing bowl, whisk together the milk, oil and warm water, then lightly beat in the eggs. Okay. You should use whole milk, but I only have almond, so that's what I'm using. 250 ml. Oil, 130 ml. So I've just boiled the kettle, but not all the way boiled. So it's just warm. How much do I need? 230. Then you give this a mix together. Then lightly beat in the eggs. Okay, next step. 1/3 at a time, add the dry ingredients to the wet ingredients, mixing well between each addition. Make sure the mixture is smooth with no pockets of flour. So we don't have to mix it with a mixer, which is good. However, I don't think it told me to mix these together, so I'm going to quickly mix these together. And then we're adding the dry to the wet. Should have done it in a bigger bowl. So, a third of the mixture. Don't really know what a third of it is, but there we go. Mix it together. Mix well. Make sure the mixture is smooth with no pockets of flour. It's very lumpy at the moment and very wet. Smells nice though. It's basically a devil's food cake, chocolate cake, which is a very wet mixture, but it creates a really nice fudgy texture. Okay, next step. Divide your mixture equally between the two sponges. No. Divide your mixture equally between the two sponge tins. Bake for 30 to 35 minutes until a skewer inserted into the centres come out clean. Cool. Oh, this is going to be very heavy. There we go. They look about even. Yep, so ish. This one looks a bit bigger, but oh well. So then pop them in the oven for half an hour to 35 minutes. The cakes are out of the oven now. I baked them for 30 minutes instead of 35. It's better to underbake chocolate cakes rather than overbake them to create the fudgy texture, and they look super fudgy. So I'm gonna let them cool in their tins for 10 minutes and then pop them on the cooling rack, and then we can start making the ganache. Okay, the cakes are nice and cool, so I need to start making the ganache. Let me see where I am. Step 9. Pour the cream in a medium saucepan with 2 teaspoons of sugar. Stir with a wooden spoon and slowly bring just to the boil. Okie dokie. Saucepan and scales. I need 300 ml of double cream with my sugar that I saved earlier, and then I'm going to pop this on a medium heat until it has just come to boil. And what's the step after that? Remove the cream mixture from the heat and pour it over the chocolate and butter. Leave the chocolate to melt for 1 minute without stirring. Okay, get another bowl. So I need to put all of my chocolate in here. It's like little chocolate buttons that you get. And I also need some butter. How much butter do I need? 10 grams of butter. Okay, the cream is just starting to bubble around the edge. I'm going to pour it over my chocolate mixture. It's not mixture, it's just chocolate and butter. Sugar everything out. Leave it to sit for 1 minute. That's 2 minutes. 1 minute. I'm so impatient, I can't even wait 1 minute. And then you want to give it a stir. By the 1 minute, your chocolate should have melted. You can't really see this, so I'm just going to stir it and then show you what it looks like after. There we go, so it's nice and silky. That seems very watery to me. Just going to check that it was 300 ml. Yeah, 300 ml double cream. It says you have to leave it 20 minutes to thicken up, which makes sense because ganache does thicken as it comes to well, as it chills down and comes to room temperature. But that seems really, really liquidy. But I could be entirely wrong, so I'll leave it for 20 minutes and then we can get assembling. So, let's talk about the ganache. It has been a pain. It says in the instructions to leave it for 20 minutes at least. I left it for 20 minutes, it did nothing. I put it in the fridge for another half an hour, it did nothing, really. So I've actually left it overnight, and it's now at a consistency which I would say is spreadable. I don't know if it's something I've done wrong, or if it's because, I don't know, the temperature of my kitchen, I really don't know, but it definitely wasn't ready in 20 minutes. So the next thing you need to do is decorate it. Well, are we? 11, 12. Place 1 sponge on your cake stand and spread about 4 tablespoons of ganache over the top, smoothing with the back of a large metal spoon or palette knife. So what it doesn't tell you to do, which I'm going to do, is stick a little bit down on the cake board, and this is going to act as a glue. And then I just wrapped my cakes in cling film overnight. So I'm going to pop one down like that. It's very fudgy, I don't know if you can hear it. And it's going everywhere. And then I'm going to get some ganache for the centre. Spread it round with a palette knife or the back of a spoon like it says. If you just go all the way around, you should get a nice level top. Then place a second sponge on top with the flat side facing upwards and gently press down. Cover the top and sides with the remaining ganache. So that is what I do as well. So you just flip it over and then you've got a nice sharp edge. So you just want to centre it and then get some more ganache on the top. And start spreading it around. Now with ganache, when you are icing a cake with ganache, it's not as stiff as buttercream, so it can slide around a little bit, but once it's set, it'll be nice and firm. So I'm just working everything from the top round, going back and forth with my palette knife. And then any bits that I'm missing, just grab a bit more ganache and work it in. And then make swirls in the ganache with your knife to create some texture, then raise your raspberries on top to cover the cake. So I think you just sort of swirl. I've never swirled ganache or buttercream or anything really. So I'm just going for it. You just want a really gentle hand, because you don't want to be taking the ganache off. And then the same around the sides. Then I'm just going to wash my hands and then we can get all the excess ganache off. I find the best thing to get the excess ganache off is with a cake scraper. I can't find my little one, hence using a gigantic one. But you can just sort of scrape any of the excess off. And and then go around with a tissue. There we go, then I'm going to grab a tissue, wrap it around my finger, and then just wipe the excess off. Just like so. I quite like that texture actually. I think it looks very effective. Then we're going to top it with our raspberries, which I have washed. Hopefully I've got enough to cover it. Leave to set for 30 minutes before serving it, if of course you can wait that long. Well, I cannot wait that long. So we are going to do a taste test, and then I am going to tell you my thoughts and whether I think this box is worth the money. So first, let's do a taste test. Big old slice of cake. Ta-da! Does look like a good cake, doesn't it? That's the inside. Okay, it does look really fudgy, so let's give it a try. Super fudgy. I'm just going to try each bit individually. So the cake is very, very fudgy. It's not too sweet, which some chocolate cakes are. I'm just going to try a bit of the ganache. Yeah, the ganache is nice. The ganache has got a real good chocolate flavour. Oh, I just want to keep eating and eating and eating. Okay, well, let's get on to the review. So now on to the review. I'm going to review it in 3 different stages. The first one is the value for money. The second one is the instructions / the recipe, and the third one is the overall result, the taste, the flavour, all of that kind of thing. So let's talk about value for money first. This box cost me $24.99, and that includes free delivery. It comes with your dry ingredients, your cake stand and your recipe. Initially, that seems a little bit expensive, but when you break it down into those 3 things, I actually think it's good value for money. So talking about the ingredients, for a start, everything seems high quality. You can tell that by the flavour of the cake. It's not bitter, it's not overly sweet, it's just a nice balanced chocolate flavour. And also for the ganache, if you use cheaper chocolate, it can be a little bit harder to work with, and it can split as well a bit easier than if you use really good high quality ingredients. So that is another sign that the ingredients in this box are of high quality. Everything is also environmentally friendly packaged. So all the packaging for the dry ingredients is recyclable, the box is obviously recyclable, and the bamboo cake stand is, I mean, I'm going to use it over and over and over again, but it's made out of bamboo, which is a really good sustainable material to use. Then the recipe, obviously you get your recipe included, but recipes aren't always free, so you do get that included, and it is broken down step by step, but we'll get onto that in a second. And then finally, the showstopper, which is the cake stand. I love the colour of it. I'm going to use this over and over again. You're going to see it in pretty much every video now, I think. It is a little bit small, but it's perfect for this size cake. And also it's really good quality as well. So yeah, I think it is really good value for money. So let's talk about the recipe and instructions next. So it comes in 15 steps, which means that they are small, easy steps. You're not going to get confused very easily with it. So for that, I think it's a very good recipe to follow. However, there are a couple of tweaks I'd make. The first one is it doesn't tell you how long to mix your ingredients for. So you could be mixing it until it's just combined, or you could be mixing it for 5 or 10 minutes. It doesn't tell you. The next thing is about the baking time. It is always difficult to put baking time in a recipe because people's ovens runs at different temperatures. I know my oven runs a bit hotter, so I only left mine in for 30 minutes. It does say 30 to 35 minutes, but I think I could have taken it out about 28 minutes. And I always undercook my chocolate cakes as well. Not so they're raw, but just so they create a really nice fudgy texture. So just keep an eye on the baking time. The next thing, and probably the biggest thing, is the ganache. It says, leave to cool and thicken at least 20 minutes before decorating. At least 20 minutes is an understatement, a massive understatement. I left mine out for 20 minutes, it did nothing. I put it in the fridge for another half an hour, it barely did anything then, so I actually left it overnight. I think it would have been ready in about a couple of hours, but that is nowhere near 20 minutes. I think, personally, there should be slightly less double cream. Obviously, this recipe works. I'm not faulting the actual ganache recipe, it's just, if you're following this recipe, the timing isn't right. You need to be leaving it for an hour or two, really. If you're following the timing, the recipe isn't right, so you want to be adding less double cream. So that's probably the biggest thing for me. Obviously, I could be totally wrong. I could be making it differently, I could have weighed it wrong, I don't know, but just from my experience, that's what I'd say on the ganache. And then the final thing, the very, very small thing, is that I, as you saw, stuck my cake down with a little bit of ganache just to act as a glue. Especially if you're doing ganache on a cake, it can slip and slide around a little bit, so that's just something else that I'd add in. So overall, I'd give the recipe an 8 out of 10. I think the recipe itself is really good, and I think the instructions are pretty good as well. There's just a couple of things that I would tweak slightly. So finally, let's talk about the end result, the flavour, the texture, all of that kind of stuff. I think this is a really good chocolate cake. I think it's really good. So the overall flavour is just a really well balanced chocolate cake. It is not overly bitter or sweet. The flavours are really well aligned. The chocolate ganache isn't over sweet either or bitter, which sometimes it can be. And together, they just work really well. And then in terms of texture, it's so fudgy, it's really, really good texture. And I left mine in the fridge overnight as well. I did wrap it up in cling film. Oh, I'm throwing chocolate cake everywhere. I did wrap it up in cling film, but when you put it in the fridge, it can occasionally dry out. But mine isn't dry at all. Mine is super, super fudgy. It's a really, really nice texture. So in terms of the end result, I think that is a 10 out of 10. So overall, I think the Bake Off box is a winner. I would give it a 9 out of 10, and the only reason I'm knocking a point off is just because of some of the things in the recipe card. Otherwise, I think it's good value for money. I think the end result is really, really good. You're getting a beautiful cake stand. I'm slightly obsessed with this cake stand, which is why I keep going on about it. If you are a baker and you have the dry ingredients at home and you already have a cake stand and you already have a recipe, this probably isn't for you. But if you are someone that does baking as a hobby, if you are someone that has never tried baking, you want to get into baking, or if you've got kids and you want an activity to do, I think this is a really, really good thing to do. I think you can still get your hands on one of these February boxes with the signature cake. But since then, they've done lemon slices, they've done a babka, and the next recipe is a cherry bakewell as well. So it's lots of different things. It's not just cake, you're doing pastries and bread and everything. So I think it's a really good way of not only getting into baking, but trying different things out as well. And of course, the other thing is the novelty of it. You're getting a recipe from the Great British Bake Off. You are getting a cake stand which is branded with the Great British Bake Off. And for someone like me who absolutely loves the Great British Bake Off, and I recreate recipes all the time, seeing this cake, come on, every single advert, every single time the Bake Off credits run, I've always wanted to make this cake, and I'm sure other people feel the same way. So that is my review of the Bake Off box. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you found it informative. If you have, or if you want me to try different subscription baking boxes, please let me know in the comments. And please don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel, and I will see you next week for another video. Thanks for watching, bye!